Good afternoon, YouTube. It's your man all the way, George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, we just got another week left for July. I mean June. Can you believe it? Another week. I mean, time is flying fast. Seems like we just started the new year and we're already going into I would say, it's like, June's the 6th, then the 7th. So we're just pretty much, most of the year is already up. So, folks, as you know, there was a show over the weekend, and it was the Imperial Classic in Spain. The promoter who promotes the Youth Sports Europe Championship, that show is gone. So what he did was he gave women's bodybuilding a chance and moved women's bodybuilding division to the show Imperial. Imperial didn't have women's bodybuilding before, but this year did. And that was great. Shout out to the promoter. His name is Emilio. And thank him and quite a few other promoters overseas. This is the first women's bodybuilding shows outside the United States. There's about a couple more that's coming. You have next month, there will be the Portugal Pro, where Shira Piami is going to be competing at. And also in September, you're going to have the Lena Popa's show. That's the first show, which is strictly just women's bodybuilding. And also in November, you'll have the Romanian Muscle Fest. But this is a great opportunity that, women's bodybuilding still has a place on stage and it's alive. So folks, as I said again, I want to congratulate the ladies who win in their divisions. As you know, I'm going to say congratulations to the ladies, particularly certain divisions that I will say I follow and I try to keep up on, and that is women's bodybuilding and women's physique. And maybe I may talk about figure for a bit because I didn't mention it because we have here the winner, Sandra Kinvicic. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, Sandra. We're just gonna say because I can't pronounce her name properly. I was trying to make sure I get it right. And she's from Sweden. Here's the thing about Sandra. She last competed in, I think, 2018, I believe, 2018, 2019. It's been at least about a little over 5 years since she competed. And she also is trained by Helen Trevino. She's part of Helen Trevino's She's one of her clients at the Team 4 coaching. That's Hella, Gene Carvalho, Irene Anderson, and Jay Fuchs. And another client supposed to compete this show also, but she dropped out. That was Victoria Kanish. So she looked pretty good. I mean, it was a battle between her and Paula Ranta, who made her women's physique debut after switching her figure. Paula won the show in figure back in 2022, where it got first Olympic qualification. Paula's originally from Finland, and then I think she was second or third the year before, and now she switched over to women's physique. So congratulations to Sandra, and also congratulations to Nadia Capasoto. This is going to be her third Olympic qualification ever since she switched from physique to women's bodybuilding. Remember back in 2021, she won the first one at the Puerto Rico Pro that was in Bahamas. And then she turned around no more than after the Olympia. She won her second at the Romanian Muscle Fest. And then she won the Big Man Weekend, which was the following show after that. So she won 3 shows, and 2 of them were Olympic two of them she won, got her Olympic qualification within the same year. And she did the Toronto Super Show just about a week ago, but she took second to she took third at that show. And then I knew this show she's going to do. It was a bounce back. So congratulations to her. This is a lady. I think this is right here, Lena. I believe this is Lena Remstein. She won the overall winner for figure, and Lena, I believe she's from Germany. And you have here some competitors here, the men's classic, that's bikini. I think that's wellness. Well, that was bikini and wellness. I can't tell the difference today. And the guy from men's physique, and you had William Bodak, men's open bodybuilding, So, but I'm gonna show. They post some clips. I'm gonna show Nina's posing, and like I said, I can't play the music, guys. So we're gonna show it here. They're posting that here. Yeah, I thought I had the thing off. And she looks very impressive. I mean, she looked really good. Like I said, it's been since 2022 since Nadia competed. And I don't know, not much change. I know some people said that she needs to most definitely grow more size in her legs. And her condition is on point. Her condition was better than at Toronto. That was just a week ago. So, we can make a difference, She looked very impressive. Her glutes look great. She always a fan of her physique. I think she has a great physique. She has a lot of potential. It's watching, for you guys, just for you guys to watch a little bit. I might play some music for you, as YouTube, how it is about music. They don't let you play anything. But she has a beautiful physique, great lines. How she placed at the Olympia this year, like I said, it might be pretty tight. She might can crack the top 10 because there's going to be, I think, 14 or 50 competitors, and nobody drops out. And also we have here Sandra's routine from the Imperial. Because they couldn't watch it because one thing, it was overseas, and somebody told me that they only took euros, so I couldn't pay in American dollars. And plus, I wouldn't be able to watch. I couldn't watch the prejudging because the prejudging was on like early in the morning. They're like 6 hours ahead of us in Spain. So when the main show started at 10, I think we clock it back maybe about 5 o'clock in the morning for us. But she looks pretty good. Amazing physique. And this woman, she really bounced back. I mean, some guys said they didn't even recognize her, the wig, and I think her conditioner came in. She took at least 5 years off from competition before she made a return. But she looks very impressive. So congratulations to her. So anyway, folks, congratulations to all the winners at the Imperial, and we can't wait to see how the season goes. So folks, the discussion is about, could there be more mainstream assistance in bodybuilding? Well, we might talk about this because we always try to find something to talk about on this channel. Every Monday I want to have some subject we want to talk about. If you have something you want to talk about, let me know. Shout out here from this is my big brother here that just came in.
What up?
Mr. Big Keith Williams, aka Scuba Steve, aka as the other called the Black Hogan. So,
The
we
Midwest
have here
monster. The Midwest monster.
the Midwest. No, he got a new name now. The Midwest Monster.
No,
That's
this
a nice.
always been the Midwest monster.
Oh, okay.
It's
It's a new
all
name for
over my
me.
Hummer. It's all over my Hummers. All over my clothes. That's my brand, bro.
Oh, that's your brand. Okay, you got your
Yeah.
brand now. Okay, okay. All right,
Haven't
brother. All
seen,
right. See, this is what we're talking
haven't
about.
seen my. It's all over my Hummer.
We'll take a picture, send that, post it.
I will.
All right. And also, we have another special guest, one Mr. The Art of Female Muscle. We have here Art. Welcome. Thank you, brother.
Hi guys.
How you
What
doing?
up, Art?
So, as you know, the subject is about can mainstream, corporation help bodybuilding and build it up to a level where it's more, sustainable and also more opportunities for competitors. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with you, Keith, because you are a pro and also you are a judge and you understand the sport just a little bit more than I do. So, what do you think about mainstream, your product placement for like companies that usually wouldn't be associated much to bodybuilding, but probably could make a difference?
Well, Art hit on it. He hits on it every week, and it's mainstream is, our sport is taboo. And it's a niche thing. So, it has a lot to do with people's personalities and characters. And here's a prime example. Kai Green wasn't Kai Green until he got out of the sport of IFBB. Dana Lynn Bailey wasn't anybody until she got out of the IFBB because they understood branding is everything. It's like we are just talking about, my brand is Midwest Monster. I brand myself, with my sponsors, Tight Nutrition brand me and everything else. You know, so you have to, in Generation Iron, the first one we did, Phil talked about, people not being able to get on camera, talk, et cetera, et cetera. I think Dennis Wolf did some auditions. They flew him out to do some auditions. But there's opportunities. But the problem in our sport is just like we talk about on this show. How many women bodybuilders have reached out to you, and you can call this mainstream because it's social media, have reached out to you to want to come on your show. In order to put yourself out there, in order for mainstream to get a hold of this stuff, they have to see something. And they're not just going to make it mainstream because of us talking about it. These women have to get on TV, have to get on, do auditions and things like that to be able to articulate their words and to do things. And that's not what we're seeing. I mean, look at Kai Green. Kai Green went from his net worth in IFBB, was pretty good because he was the number 2 guy for a long time. But now the dude's doing Stranger Things, Mortal Kombat. He has his own shoe line. He just teamed up with Redcon One. After getting rid of his brand. After leaving Muscleman. But Kai was a smart business guy. And you got to remember, this guy was homeless, living in a men's homeless shelter when he started his career. But he understood how to brand himself, and he understood how to become, in my opinion, Kai Green will always be the people's champion because people love Kai. Kai will come on this show and sit here and run his mouth. I don't know if he will now because he's, traveling all over. But Kai used to be the guy who, when I met him with CT Fletcher at a grand opening, Kai Green said, use the sport for what you can get out of the sport, not what the sport can get out of you. And Kai Green net worth right now, I want to say it's like 12 or $15 million, which wasn't when he was in IFBB, wasn't near that. But he understood how to brand himself with his art, with his videos, with his personality. More than anything, if you guys ever met Kai Green, he has the most bigger than life personality ever. And that's what it takes in this sport. And that's not what a lot of these women are willing to do. And that's the problem.
Yeah, because you know what, you have to put yourself out there. If you want something in life, you have to put in the work in, put in the time. You have to take risks because sometimes there's more reward than is risk. We have a comment from my man Warrior 2000. He says this says we can be we could be on this topic all day, all week, all month, hell, even all year. But I don't think mainstream companies would be able to increase attention to bodybuilding. The question is, how can we arrange it? And that's the thing. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. This also, it says, some way, somehow, we can find a middle ground to work a miracle of getting this to happen with these companies. Yeah. Also, the comment here says, shout, he says this. He also says, this is from him. Art says, uh, the Imperial Pro Show had Martina and Nadia, my two favorite ones, top two. Because yeah. And also we are here from a man. Raheem Hamilton. And this is how he says, episode 192, George, you're almost at episode 200. Get there and you will get that syndication deal. I don't know if they ever give me syndication deal. So, Art, what's your thoughts? Is you've been following bodybuilders like a long I have, and and other than mostly just the everyday supplement companies like Titan Nutrition, Redcon, and those other companies, when you think maybe something like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, something like a shoe company like Reebok or Adidas, we think that will make a difference in bodybuilding as a whole.
I think it would, just simply because of the money factor. I mean, you're talking about worldwide recognized companies, but just to be perfectly blunt and honest about it, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Because you've got like I keep hammering home, like Keith was saying, you got 40 years of programming to get through in order to be able to change that, because that's the mentality that people have in society and culture today. Is bodybuilding is all about steroids, and steroids is all about that. So as long as you've got that, as long as you've got a society and a populace that are programmed to think that way, that's the first thing that you got to do is you have to educate. Like Keith was saying, Lester, is like people are saying, "Oh yeah, I would look that way if I took all this shit." Said, "Do you understand what you're talking about? Do you know? Do you really know what's going on there?" I mean, so many people have this idea in their minds as to what it's supposed to be like. But
Well,
yeah, I think you got 40 years of counter programming to do in order to be able to even approach that. Just the way that I see it. Because as long as people have this negative view of bodybuilding, corporations are not going to be involved with it. It was bad. It was very different back in the day. It was back in the 80s. It was a very different subject. I mean, you had far more societal and cultural support behind it than you do now. But then, like we were talking about earlier, Ben Johnson in 1988, when he
yeah.
got busted for steroids, that all changed from that point on. When people started hearing about steroids and then started associating it with bodybuilding, things went downhill from there. So
Jose
you've got
Canseco.
Yep, and like you were saying last time, Lyle Azedo too.
Yeah.
But the thing was, even his own brain surgeon said that had nothing to do with the
Nope.
situation. So, but of course, people don't hear that. So
Well,
the
and
further,
you got to realize that a lot of people didn't watch Chris Bell's movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster because that would have really broke it down for him. And if you ever watch that movie, it really gets in depth of what the fallacy of what we do is really about and what it's really not about. And so Chris Bell went into it, and I know Chris, and it was the most. I don't know if you've seen it, but
oh
it's the
yeah,
most in depth deal because like he said, if you're on gear, if you're on steroids, if you're an asshole, there's no science. And I've done the research because I almost did my thesis on this. If you're an asshole, you just became a bigger asshole. In theory, not because you were taking gear, you know. And there's scientific. It says, why do they give kids who have bad growth plates growth hormones? Why do they give AIDS victims these different kind of steroids? Because they're not giving them to them to kill them. They're giving them to them to sustain life, to put on muscle, things like that. So this fallacy of, you use steroids, you die. No, that's not it. A doctor once told me the two things I can't save you from is insulin and diuretics. That's it.
mm,
Had nothing to do with steroids. And this was when Flex Wheeler was, had all the kidney transplant, and all this other stuff. He's like, the two things that Flex told me, and this is in this book, if you ever read it, two things I can't save you from is insulin shock and diuretics, because cramps you stop your heart. And if you think about it, where are all these athletes dying from these days? Over dieting and taking it to the extreme to get as lean and to get as conditioned as possible. Think about it. All these athletes that are dying right now are not, as of late, has not been from steroids. Sean, Cedric, Dallas McCarver. It hasn't been from steroids. It has, and again, at the end of the day, people have choices to make. People can abuse, everybody abuses things. People abuse alcohol every day, but we're still selling the shit. People abuse cigarettes every day and people still smoking it. It's no different than, steroids is no different than all the other bad shit out in the world, you know. So when it comes to it, like Art says, it's an educational thing that these people, have to. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this when we were talking about this last week. Every day I go in the gym and it's fucking jam packed with people. Every day. it's like if you ever watched Weeder's new movie and when he thought about the whole idea of getting a gym and the guy laughed at him and says, who would ever want to come to the gym and work out? And think about how many gyms are in the world right now and what are people doing? It's crazy how it's crazy how the fitness industry is not mainstream when it comes to if I go to my gym tomorrow and videotape how many people are in there when I train and it's annoying as shit, but it's a good thing. It's crazy how it's not mainstream, right? Because everybody's in there. Everybody's in there trying to accomplish something, whether it's lose weight, put on muscle, just overall health, but yet it's not mainstream. It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, like back in the 80s, around about the 80s, you had Jane Fonda was doing workout videos. You have a lot
Yeah,
of these celebrities were doing workout videos. So you
Jackie
had,
Lane.
yeah, it there's a niche for it, but people need to not use that excuse as it's steroids, steroids. As you know, we have the Olympics coming up. I think it's in about a few weeks, and you see more use of steroids among track stars, girls and men and women in the swim team, gymnasts. But no one ever. That's why they had put in the drug testing because there was a whole story with the was it the East German women's swim team where that was a big
Yeah,
controversy where they were
Russia.
busted for taking steroids.
The Russians.
The Russians also, but it's like this: if you don't have the talent and don't put in the work into it, steroids is just like a small factor of it. And you have someone like good example is I'm a fan of hers is Andrea Shaw, someone like that who is intelligent, who's elegant, who's beautiful, who can really be somebody. Okay, let's use this lady as we have a product we can sell, and people who are a fan of hers might want to buy it. Maybe in the future, when she's out of bodybuilding, she can do like Kai and also Dale Lynn, also Arnold Schwarzenegger, really collate that into mainstream success. We have here some comments here. This is from our man Raheem Hamilton. It says, "For mainstream to upset this sport, one or not a lot of women has to have the it factor. She has to have a personality, charm, and charisma, and the look for the camera." That's Andrea Shaw. You came out the gate. Also, this is from man Warrior. It says Kai Green, aka Mr. Get It Done, is one of them. Was one of the best. Shout out to him. Also, Raheem says this. He says the only way is that these ladies have to hire a PR team, a manager, and an agent to help them get the deals. Yeah, that's a lot of money they got to spend. That's like probably just as much as they spend to
Well, and,
compete.
and, and Raheem is not being realistic because, I mean, you understand these athletes are already in a predicament where the sport is extremely expensive as shit to compete in. Now you got to hire a publicist and all this other stuff because clearly these people are not working for free. So it's not like an actor can go into, like I know Raheem's into acting, but it's one of those things where, there's a lot of goes into this. And again, those people will want to know if they're putting their best foot forward that they're getting paid for it. And I just don't see that happening. That's why Kai Green and, especially Kai Green, he's probably the best example to use for it is the guy went into movies. He went into, I think he started off with Stranger Things and then he did Mortal Kombat, but again, you have to put yourself out there for that. And a lot of these athletes just don't. They just don't want to do that.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be complacent because here's a prime example. I just seen the thing last week. We have this special announcement from Tyler Mannion, right? And I don't know if you guys seen it. The special announcement was, the IFBB has now come out with their own clothing line. And supposedly, with its own clothing line, it's supposed to put money, more prize money into these shows, right? So that's what was said. So they can put more money back into these shows. The question is that we have to all ask ourselves is where are they putting that money? Are they spreading it out? Is it for women? Is it for men? Because the last announcement that Tyler made talking about the New York Pro, they only benefited the men, correct?
Mhm.
The prize money went up for the men, but I don't think it went up for the women at all. And I may be wrong, but that was the last I checked. So again, at the end of the day, the IFBB can do something as far as helping these. I mean, if you're going to make a clothing line that you want us to buy, because I was on there like a zip up was like $65 a pair of pants and $65 a t-shirt was, $25, and supposedly all this money that we spend, hell, we don't even get a discount. you know, it's like Matt Porter. I just ordered some Vasselberg because I use it, and Matt, who his product is unbelievable. I have a code. Tight Nutrition, I have a code. The IFBB should be giving these athletes, giving us all codes, because again, we pay to play. It's not like we pay to play. We're spending $300. You are.
Where?
The nail salon.
Where?
Love Nails by
While Keith's talking with his wife for a second, we're gonna pull up that video because somebody sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna share it with y'all, so y'all, if you want to see it. And this is Tyler Mannion. He's the grandson of Jim Mannion, son of Jim Mannion, heir apparent, probably the next president of the IFBB.
Vice President of the NPC and IFBB Pro League. And today I'm here with another extremely exciting announcement. Before I get into the announcement, I just want to take a second to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting all the videos that we've been putting out this year. I think you can see as an organization that we have been focused on two major initiatives. The first initiative would be putting out our videos on the judging criteria and about judging at shows. This gives transparency to everybody about what is actually going on. You can see that athletes can have guidelines to follow, and hopefully it's helping the fans understand more about the sport, and it's growing the sport that way. Our second initiative that we've really been focusing on is increasing the exposure of the NPC and IFBB Pro League. Increasing the exposure leads to more prize money and more recognition for our athletes. Our organization's mindset has always been athletes first. We do not take for granted that without our amazing athletes, we would not be the organizations we are today in the NPC and IFBB Pro League. So, with the major announcement and really exciting news, I'm so proud to announce that we are officially launching IFBB Pro Apparel. It has always been a goal of mine to provide high quality and functional apparel for our world-class athletes and fans alike. This project has taken many months of development to make sure that we were sourcing the highest quality materials to get the perfect cut for our athletes and our fans. As I said earlier, our organizations are athletes first. This brand is for the bodybuilding community to support our athletes. As this brand grows, our goal is to invest back into our athletes in the form of increased prize money. So once again, we are extremely proud to present the new IFBB Pro apparel brand. Pre-sale is now live. As you guys can see, I'm wearing some of our items right now. Make sure you go check out the website, ifbbproapparel.com. Quantity is limited as this is our first drop. So make sure you check out the website, follow us on IFBB Pro Apparel on Instagram. And again, thank you for all of your support.
Well, thank you, young Mr. Mannion. But the question is, like my man Big He said, are the athletes going to get a discount? Because, if this is supposed to be bringing revenue into IFBB, is it, like I said again, is it going to go and spread the wealth? Meaning like divisions, especially women's bodybuilding. As the one person who was, doing that before them was the Wings of Strength. They had surplus, they had clothing lines. They were doing it for a good while. And, but now you want to jump in. And people like Eunice Kitchens at Bad Rap, who just started her brand last year. And, the IFBB has been around for at least 60, 70 years. And now you're just getting into apparel now, other than just the suit you make for the Olympians. Now you're finally getting apparel. We got some comments here. This is from, my man War 2000 says, women's bodybuilding has to have their own Caitlin Clark type of athlete that will bring out, that will go out and put herself out there to be something big and bring more attention to women's bodybuilding division. It probably is. Also, it says right now the WNBA basketball girls are acting catty and sneaky towards Caitlin Clark. It's doing a huge disservice to the women's basketball division as a whole. Well, that's on them. Also, this is from our man Raheem Hamilton. He says, it was the NBC interview with Lyle Zato that made steroids look bad. He said that in that interview, don't take steroids, and the media kept running that, cryo back in '92. Yeah, I think they've been like, I know, like when you say don't use drugs, or like the old commercials like this is your brain on drugs, But the fact was, like you said, it wasn't just the steroids. He already had a disease, because cancer
Well,
is
and
something
the
that's in
funny
your
thing
body.
is, I mean, come on, let's be honest, guys. How many commercials do we see a day where, all these different medications, but it has 20,000 different side effects, right? So what the fuck is the difference? Excuse my language. What the fuck is the difference? It has all these side effects. Well, this can help you, but you might get X, Y, Z, WX, whatever side effects. So what's the hell is the difference? It's like smoking cigarettes. When everybody went out to Tibet, everybody's still smoking cigarettes. I didn't even realize how much cigarettes cost. So I asked this lady the other day, I'm like, how much a pack of cigarettes? She's like, $10. I'm like, holy shit. Alcohol, same thing. So when all these people are saying all these different things and trying to make it taboo, all this shit's taboo. I mean, now marijuana's legal, for Christ's sakes, in California. I mean, let's make the world even more stupid. Like it's legalizing shit. Goddamn Oregon is legalized meth now. So, come on, what are we really talking about here? At the end of the day, I think when somebody said Caitlin Clark, here's the thing. Caitlin Clark has the NCAA behind her because they understood, they knew what they're getting. She has the NBA, the WNBA. I mean, hell, she got LeBron and everybody else, all these guys coming to her rescue, as she's trying to help brand the sport. I mean, think about it this way. Stephen A. Smith said it best. She didn't make the Olympic team because of, her experience and not being able to train and all this other stuff. And Stephen A. Smith says, you guys have to be the dumbest asses on the face of the earth. You're trying to make a sport worldwide now, and you have the biggest name, but you leave her off the team. Hey, back in the day in 92 when they had the dream team with Jordan and Bird and Magic Johnson and all those in the Admiral and all those guys, there was one person they put on there. His name was Christian Laettner from Duke. They didn't have to put him on there, but Christian Laettner was a good white dude who could play 2 national championships, and they put him on the team. They could do the same thing. There's some exceptions to the rules, and that's like you said, the branding aspect of what you're trying to do to the WNBA and taking it worldwide is the dumbest thing you could ever did, is not include Caitlin Clark a part of this team, no matter what. No matter if she played a little bit. If you go from 4,000 seats in a stands to 17,000 seats in a stands, and arena sold out all over the WNBA because of her, I'm putting her on the team no matter what. No matter what I got to do, somebody got, like you said, somebody got to be the sacrificial lamb. And when it comes to the sport, we do. You have Andrea Shaw, who's a very articulate and very well-spoken person. But Andrea Shaw is not the IFBB. Andrea Shaw is Andrea Shaw. Caitlin Clark wouldn't be, if Caitlin Clark wouldn't be where she was if she didn't have the NCAA, NBC, and all ESPN, and all these other brands publicizing who she is and what she's accomplished in her career, right? So at the end of the day, Jake Woods, the IFBB, the NPC included, and all these other things have to get these faces, whether it's Derek Langford, whether it's Andrea Shaw, whether it's the women's Sarah, and all these people together and figure out some kind of way to make this mainstream. Until that happens, with the IFBB pushing it, because they're the brand, right? The IFBB is our brand. And without them, this is never going to come to fruition. It's going to be cloud. It's going to be ideas in the sky. They're never going to come down to earth because they're willing to push their own brand. But like they said, and here's the really interesting thing what Tyler said, and I love Tyler. I've known him since he was a little tiny wrestler who coming to shows with his dad. It's simply this. His words were, we understand that the athletes make the sport. It makes this thing go around. Well, why aren't you doing something to help the athletes besides putting out clothes? Mm-hmm. What you're making money off of? That's the question.
Yeah, we just last Saturday I had that live signing with Sherry Parami and Bad Rap, and and Eunice and JoJo and Sherry. They were really talking about how yes, there needs to be more opportunities for competitors, even the mainstream. I mean, if most of the people buy these, when you go to the expos, You know, you go like the Orange Winter Classic. You know, the Pittsburgh Pearl Post Expo. It's talking maybe they may add women's bodybuilding next year. You know, you really have to really sell people on the idea that bodybuilding, even though it may not be the traditional sport of your mindset, it's a sport that's been around for a long time. Here, it's from Man War 2000 says, how is it that open men's bodybuilding division, Mr. Olympia, can have Shaquille O'Neal, David Batista, Dwayne Johnson, Triple H back in the day come to the show and be excited for the guys? Well, they're the stars. You know, people are excited about them. Also, Raheem says this says right now it's about body positive looking either overweight in the middle or skinny. Rob Patterson did not work out to play Batman. He refused to work out, and that's why I didn't like him as Batman. Also, you know, however, this is from War 2000. However, when it comes to women's bodybuilding division, Miss Olympia don't get the luxury of seeing big time Hollywood names coming to attend the ladies' shows. Well, there are some names, but you know what?
That is incorrect because I attend the Olympias and Shaq. See what you guys have to understand when he's talking about Triple X. They're ambassadors. They're guest ambassadors of the show. You know, they're fans of the show. You know, Shaq will tell you if he could be a bodybuilder, he would. He's just too tall. He loves working out. Dude's in unbelievable shape for who he is. You know, these guys, they love the sport. The Rock loved the sport. He actually, you know, we all know the story about him and Jake, and he outbidded Jake for or Jake outbidded him for the Olympia, et cetera, et cetera. But I think in the direction that the Rock would want to go, I think would have been a controversy because the Rock is, not saying Jake is not a businessman, but Rock is a more hands-on guy with his own idealism of what he wants the sport to be, you know, versus Jake has money and he has a great team of people that works for him. But I think he just lets them handle it, where the Rock is a very hands-on guy when it comes to the things that he's created in this business world, you know, so that's the difference, you know. And again, at the end of the day, we got to sit back and look at it and say, hey, you know, again, what is the IFBB doing to put the sport out there?
Right, and the problem is they're not.
And
I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, when I was watching that video, I was like, okay, how exactly does this help the bodybuilding community get out there? Because who's gonna buy IFBB clothing? Bodybuilding fans and bodybuilding competitors. That's it.
But they tell you is they already have an NPC brand. You know, NPC is
they do.
The IFBB is for pros. Why would I buy an IFBB Pro jacket if I'm not IFBB Pro? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. Let me go buy an IFBB Pro sweatsuit, but I'm not a pro. What?
Right.
What?
And see, the other problem is that, I mean, yeah, it's nice that they came out with that video, but who's going to watch it other than people in the bodybuilding community?
Exactly.
Nobody. If you decided to put a 30-second spot and decided to buy a 30-second spot on national television, that may change some things. Maybe you'll get more people, but until you actually decide to do that, because again, back in the day, back in the 80s, you enjoyed a lot more exposure on national TV than what you got today. You had regular ESPN coverage of national level and pro level shows. And that was for the women as well as the men. Now ESPN wouldn't touch it.
And Art is right. I mean, you see these old clips of Milos and Sean Ray on news channels doing these workouts and showing people this and that and other. You could do that. The IFBB just has to. It doesn't have to be ESPN, because we all know ESPN won't go near the IFBB because they look at it as affiliated with steroids. But there are other fitness channels. There are other means of networks that you can go to in order to get I remember it was when Kai was years ago, and they had them all on the news talking about the Olympia, getting ready for the Olympia. That perks up people's ears because they're like, so what is this about? Who are these big guys about? The fitness industry is at an all-time high, gym-wise. So people are paying attention. You don't have Big Herc and fucking, who's the other guy, the other quarterback, on pushing testosterone for no reason. You got think about, guys, think about this. How many testosterone commercials are on TV these days? A lot. Men's testosterone levels dropping. Big Herc and what's the damn quarterback's name? Doug Flutie. Oh, your testosterone
Thomas,
levels are low? You know, here's a testosterone booster. You know, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a testosterone in an injectable form is the same thing as a pill. It may be less stuff in the pill than it is an injectable, but it's a testosterone booster.
Yeah.
And if they're worried about steroids, and Tina made the best point ever. And here's the thing, and Art, you'd have to agree with me here. If steroids is a big deal, why is WWE so big?
Right. Exactly.
And you know, they just recently WWE and UFC are now part of a new, I think it's KO, and now we have now united. And also UFC has gotten bigger. You know, I do content on mixed martial arts. UFC has grown. When it first came out, people didn't like it. Especially, I grew up as a boxing fan. But I will watch more MMA while I do boxing because and they have mainstream companies like Budweiser. They had Conor McGregor doing commercial. Tokyo Tires. They do other stuff here and there. They really have spanned the last few years. And if bodybuilding can't do that, UFC can do it. Bodybuilding can't do it. I mean, it's a fighting sport. People don't like it because they call it human cockfighting. Back in the day. Here we got a comment from man Rahi Hamilton. He says this scary movie in 2000 had a female bodybuilder. Oh yeah, I remember she was the instructor, the teacher. I think it was Jane Tracker. I think that's what it was. I don't got a name right. I apologize.
Well, yeah, also, Chris Morrell was in Grown Ups.
Yeah. You remember? I think it was who was it? There were two guys. I think it was Aaron, what's the face, and somebody else that was in Sister Act 2. I'm trying to remember who it was. That's been a long time ago. He said, Miss Man, Adam Sandler used a female bodybuilder in Grown Ups. Yeah.
That's Chris Morrell.
Yeah, Chris Morrell. John Q used Ronnie Coleman. No, it wasn't Ronnie Coleman. It was Chris Come Here that he used. He used his name, but then
and John Q was a great movie because guess what? The kid was like a fan of bodybuilding. He was a fan of these guys. And he used all of them. He knew all of them. But again, what was it? Chris Shashowski did The Sale. So they're around. But like Phil said it best. He says some of these guys, you put a camera in front of their face and they just can't talk.
Yeah, there's actually, I remember I saw this. It was because I followed Dave Palumbo, and there's a clip of him. He was on Conan O'Brien. He was playing Hulk wants love, Hulk looks for love, what Hulk hates love. Yeah, he's wicked stuff. Dave Palumbo. We got a man here, KL the Wanderer. He just came through here. Shout out to KL.
Hey,
He just didn't leave you.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What's your thought? Do you think that there should be more opportunities for women in the mainstream, especially in the bodybuilding world?
I guess. I don't know, man. I don't really have too much comment on it, because it's like it's almost like we talk about the same thing in a different way, if it makes sense. What I'm saying. Like, because a lot of times it be like with the shows and all that stuff, and then we happen to incorporate that with it. But I mean, my opinion, it would be cool to see, a female bodybuilder, doing like a commercial or something like that, or just having a movie role or something.
Like good
because I remember like back in the day, like in the 90s, that it was popping like a lot of times. They was like, then talk shows like we all know, and it's just not like that now. So
yeah, because you remember I remember Betty Pariso. She was in a Joe Craft commercial. I think Linda Murray did a commercial for was it Wendy's or somebody. There was one lady, she was in a Budweiser commercial. I mean, there's a niche for them, a place for them, but these companies got to take the chance and give these people opportunities. I mean, You know, you never know. You might have people who are fans. Like one thing you talk about how you could, like NBC, IB could buy a spot. You know, the time when they had the most commercials is Super Bowl. When you have big commercial time, you could buy a spot, 30 seconds, and that's how you get people who say, you know what, I like that. I might, want to buy that if it's like something that word, like especially you have like professional football players, you have other athletes who are fans of bodybuilding. I remember the time that Triple H and Big Papa Pump were doing a pose off on an episode of WWE back in the day. Here we have here. This is from a man. It says my man Raheem says, "Warrior, I was not talking about his acting. I started. He did not work out. Bruce Wayne is built. Yeah, that's I know that. Right. Also, this is from Raheem Hamilton says, "Hey Keith, do you see the guy right now in WWE and AEW? Not many of them have muscles. They look like everyday guys. I think one guy talking about is Orange Cassidy. He looks like typical beach bumming looking dude, but you still have some guys that are like Braun Breaker, guys like Drew McIntyre. You know, those there's someone who I'm a fan of, Jordan Grace. Now she is an amateur bodybuilder. I don't know if she's going to compete and try to get her pro status this year. And she's jumping between TNA and now in WWE NXT.
How
Yeah,
does she
it's
do
just
that with wrestling and bodybuilding?
She finds the
That's
time.
exhausting.
She finds the time.
well, she
But
said it
don't
was
she have
fair.
to get? No, I'm just saying, like, don't she gotta? How long in a period does she make her body rest? Because that's a lot of wrestling she doing. I never seen her wrestle. I don't know.
Well, she herself said that she struggled a lot. Her personal relationships suffered. Her pro wrestling suffered because she was trying to do that, especially the travel aspect. People need to realize your pro wrestlers, they're on the road 300 days out of the year. They're very seldom go home. So you got to find time to train, diet, and do this, and do the travel that you're doing, and then also the expenses on top of that they have to take care of. Because shockingly enough, I mean, companies, even big companies like the WWE, they won't necessarily cover travel accommodations. That's got to come out of your pocket too. So, but I mean, sticking with the topic that we've been dealing with, it's like you have to get cast cultural bias. Like one example of that would be Jake Wood trying to get an ad for the Rising Phoenix in local movie theaters
Yep.
in the area. What happened with that ad? It was promptly banned by all of the local movie theaters because they thought it was too sexual in nature. So as a result, they decided to ban it.
Well,
So
it's
it's
just like,
like,
it's like you got to take, I mean, when they first came out with Generation Iron, and the Generation Iron was huge, and it was based off of, it was based off like 4 or 5 athletes, but more so Kai Green and Phil Heath, because those were the two big names at the time, but they did a great job of promoting it. I remember walking to a theater and the guy walking out was like looking at me like, "Hey, you're in the movie," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I remember all these cameras, but again, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is a production. They generate Generation Iron, which is a brand who makes all these films and all these stuff. I mean, if you go to their page, the crazy thing is we talk about this, and if you go to Generation Iron's actual page, they have so many documentaries on so many different athletes. The UFC fighter, the one who was trying to go from UFC to compete in a women's figure show or women's physique or whatever case may be. But I went on their page the other day for the first time and seen all the documentaries and videos. The problem is, if you're not me, because I'm imagining none of you guys have seen them either, you're not just going to go to Generation Iron and go to their page. Now, if you guys get a moment, go to their page and look at their page. It's crazy how many freaking videos and movies they have produced on that page, but you only see them there. And you're absolutely right, Art, when it comes to it. When it comes to uh, mainstream, what you're going to, yeah, there you go, right there. Now, if you look at this, look at how many videos and documentaries this company
has made. A ton, a shit ton. But only a few people get to see this stuff who are actually involved in the sport. Which, like I said, the crazy thing to me is to see how many gyms there are in the world these days, privately and franchise gyms in the world these days, but yet this is such a hush hush sport still. It's going to be have to come out to some point where, again, the NFL is not quiet, the NBA is not quiet, the MLB is not quiet. The question is, why isn't, and maybe they are, and maybe we just don't know, why isn't the IFBB doing or trying to follow suit? What, because they're the biggest fitness brand in the world, right? The IFBB, the NPC, right? Because everybody's trying to turn pro. Why aren't they doing the things or trying to follow the suit or trying to find out what they need to do in order to build up their brand recognition like the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, etc.? That's the question that we need to be asking.
Well, I think it comes down to also something I brought before. It's like, yeah, you can put all this stuff out there, but how much of an impact is it really going to have? How many people are actually going to go? Like, for instance, if you do greater advertising for Generation Iron, how many people who are outside of bodybuilding really going to go to that? Because, like I've said before, 99% of the world doesn't give a shit about this. They really don't. So the problem is, so what you have to do, the only way this is going to grow is to figure out how to get those people who otherwise wouldn't necessarily be interested in that other 99%, how do you get them to watch?
And here's the thing.
How do you get them to find out about it?
When I go to the gym, do you know how many people consider themselves bodybuilders? Everybody. Me and this girl have this big debate. She hasn't even done a show yet, but I consider her a wellness competitor. I go, there's different categories to this, and there's levels to this shit. Don't call yourself a bodybuilder because you're not a bodybuilder. You're a wellness competitor. Whatever. But again, at the end of the day, there's a world of people that go into Crunch Fitness where I train at, one of my sponsors. Everybody is a bodybuilder. So it's funny to me how they can't get this mainstream audience to pay attention because everybody goes to the gym. A lot of people go to the gym. There's Genesis, there's Crunch, there's Planet Fitness that we talked about last week. There's Anytime Fitness, there's LA Fitness, there's Lifetime Fitness. There's all these plethoras of gym, Los Campeones, the LA, all these gyms across the world where people, hundreds and thousands of people go to. So my question is, how isn't the IFBB, who understands they're the cornerstone of fitness, the fitness industry, tapping into this untapped market? That's the question.
Yeah, because you know what, fitness is getting expanding. Like I said again, the number of
it's huge.
Yeah, remember back in the '80s where fitness we blowed up. Like we talk about how Jane Fonda and a lot of celebrities were making these exercise aerobic videos. Chuck Norris, he does the Total Gym. I mean, I know it's maybe for like a society, they still are not comfortable with the idea of bodybuilding.
Well, here's a funny thing, George. I have a funny story. So I tell people this. I said, remember Luke had that song, "Oh my God, baby, Becky, look at her butt." Because every, white girls didn't want the big bubbly asses. Now you got the Kim Kardashians and the Beyoncés, and every chick in the goddamn gym is doing a ass exercise. Back in the day, white girls didn't want asses. Now everybody wants an ass. Everybody wants the so it's trending in the right direction. We're trending in the right direction as far as that's concerned. Every girl in the gym is doing a goddamn hip thrust or some booty exercise every time I go to the gym. So when I look at as a person who's at the gym 6 days a week, and I look like I went in there today and I'm like, fuck, there's so many people in here, but whatever. But I look at it trending, and the fitness industry is trending. Where remember when, again, I'll say this, if you ever watch that movie by Weeder, when he went into the bank to get a loan and he told the guy he said, I wanted to start a gymnasium. And the guy didn't understand, and he goes, who would ever pay money to do some shit like that? Well, look where we're at now. Look where we're at now. The guy looked at him, laughed his ass all the way out the building when he said that he wanted to open up a gym. It was one of the first gyms ever opened, and Weeder wanted to open, and he had a vision. He started doing the weights thing, putting his name on the weights, and then he wanted to open up a gym, and the guy thought he was funny. But now look at the world we live in. The world we live in is completely fitness-based. There's gyms everywhere. There's people everywhere spending tons and tons of money on working out. But the question is, why can't we make this mainstream? Because even with the steroid thing out there, it's still somehow you can always, it's like I always thought having The Rock, because The Rock is a guy who has a different vision. The Rock is, like I said, is a guy who I know, who I've met, whose vision of what he wanted to do is completely different than the people who are running the IFBB now. And people thought that he would ruin it. I'm like, fuck, he has the UFS, he has the XFL and the USFL on TV now, on ESPN, on three different networks. And it's the lower brand of the NFL, but people are watching it. He got it on TV. So why wouldn't you want a guy like that, or bring a guy like that in to sit here and says, how do we make this sport blow up and be bigger than it already is? Because we all know that the bodybuilding is an international sport. You know, you got shows in the United States and you got shows internationally. So how do you make it bigger? And again, at the end of the day, we all have to look at the face of the IFBB and the NPC, because they coincide and they hand in hand with each other, because they do shows, you know, overseas and in the United States, and say, why isn't this bigger than it really than it is?
I think personally it comes down to two things. One, was mentioning earlier, society's perception of steroids, but also a question of cultural acceptance. Certain activities are going to be more culturally acceptable than others. So it's like when you see someone of like muscular guys like Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Triple H, Paul Levesque, in pro wrestling is a whole hell of a lot more culturally acceptable than bodybuilding is. It just simply is, because, I mean, yeah, it's an international audience, but pro wrestling puts bodybuilding to shame in terms of its popularity. And the same thing is true with cultural acceptance of muscular women. I mean, we're still trying to get there. It's been now, we've had women's bodybuilding going on 50 years now. It's actually gone downhill from where it used to be as far as cultural acceptance, because the women, it not only is the steroids, but it comes down to the size question. I mean, Eunice, sorry, go ahead.
Remember back in the day, you know, Vince McMahon created his own federation. You know, that was short-lived because there's so much involved in, you know, steroid use and all that. But it's just you need the right people, instead again, who really want to give the opportunity to put it out in the forefront. It's going to be hard because, like I said, we can't change the mind of the masses.
So wait a minute. So are you guys telling me, you know, because I trained at a gym in Minnesota, and it's no longer existent, but all the WWE, and this is before I even got there, but I would hear the stories how needles are on the ground, and this is where all the WWE guys worked out at. You know what I'm saying? The big name guys. You know, because remember, Hulk Hogan, all these guys, the Road Warrior, and all the Road Warrior, these guys were jacked. They were huge. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't understand how they can get away with it, but the IFBB can't.
See, you're right, Keith. I mean, you're right in terms of, yeah, they're both muscular guys, but it comes down to what, again, the culture will accept and what will not. And the thing that amazes me, people will turn a blind eye when it comes to something they like or what they're a fan of. But they won't do it with something they're not a fan of. Like a pro wrestling fan will turn a blind eye to steroid use in the WWE or in AEW or TNA or any of the other companies because, hey, they're a fan of that. But, those bodybuilders, those are the ones taking the steroids. It couldn't possibly be possibly be what I'm a fan of. Another big example, CrossFit. How many of these girls are on gear?
Yeah.
When you see these girls that are competing in these events, and they're in arenas, and also they have corporate sponsorship behind them. But again, CrossFit is more culturally acceptable than bodybuilding is.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two of the main reasons, to answer your question, Keith, is people will turn a blind eye when it comes to something they're fans of. But they won't turn a blind eye to something they're not.
Yeah, because this one example, as you know, the boxer Ryan Garcia. Everybody was saying, he tested positive for steroids. He was using. He was fighting a guy on steroids. But now everybody's saying, nah, yeah. It was wrong, yeah. But then if somebody else gets busted for it, then they say, oh yeah, he's cheating. But it's always a
think
double
about it,
standard.
George. Think about this. MLB was its all-time highest win when Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa were hitting home runs, and they all got accused of using what?
Right, steroids. But baseball's more acceptable.
But it was at an all-time high because everybody wanted to see who was going to break the home run record and all that shit. And then, of course, Jose Canseco goes to the Arnold and writes a book about steroids or some bullshit or whatever KB, and then again makes it even more taboo. I don't know if somehow you create a team to the IFBB, that is, and the NPC, because we say they're one, to start really educating people on, I don't know, if, like they do these seminars after the Arnold, they do these seminars after the Olympia, but to televise this thing, like, not everybody, not everybody uses steroids who is in shape, because the NPC and the IFBB, I have a buddy who's here and works out at Crunch, is an IFBB physique pro who's a natural guy. But the unfortunate thing is he gets lumped in because he's IFBB pro, he gets lumped into that shit. So the question is, how does the IFBB educate people on, not all these athletes are on steroids, and we know the freak show, that's, these people come to see the freak show. That's why this is a niche thing, because, remember, I think 92, or remember, I think it was 92 when they decided to decided to test for diuretics. And it was the worst show that the Olympia ever had. And after that, they're like, we don't give a shit anymore, because people want to see the freaks come out. They want to see the crazy shit, and so they stopped it after that. So again, at the end of the day, how do we create an atmosphere? Because it's out there where, again, I go to the gym every day and I see everybody trying to get in the best shape they can, natural or unnatural. I don't know who's using and who's not using, but trying to get in the best shape that they can, to sit here and say, not everybody does this. But again, the question is, of the gentleman in the room, how does the IFBB get it out there that you don't have to, not everybody uses drugs to compete,
On the pro level, would you say that with people on the pro level though? I'm going to say probably almost all of them do.
Well, like
you have
Cordell,
to do
my
that
buddy
to
Cordell,
compete.
who's an IFBB pro, he's competing in Florida next week. He's natural, all natural, turned pro, all natural. He's a pro physique, all natural guy. He's a physician assistant, great guy, unbelievable shape. But again, he gets lumped into that group of people who uses steroids. And again, I don't know the consensus of people who uses versus don't use, or whatever the case may be. But again, at the end of the day, then why are we talking about testosterone boosters on TV? It's the same thing as, it's and somebody, a biochemist once told me the difference between, the test that I take versus the pill, there's like one chemical left out. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? So again, at the end of the day, testosterone, the boosters are if you go look at the number of sales on testosterone boosters, it's in the billions right now. Because men testosterone levels drop, like women get menopause, men get menopause. It's actually a true thing. So men's testosterone, as we get older, our testosterone drops. So men use it. Now, women use it for different reasons, but not all women uses it. Not all women use, the stuff. I've talked to some pros who says, I use as minimal as I can. Chris Bumstead said it. As I win more championships, I use less. I don't have to use as much, because again, I'm at where I need to be now. I just have to maintain. And what people have to understand about this whole thing, and I'll educate people, and I tell people, people look at me and says, oh, if I use steroids, I'm like, no, you can't, because you're not willing to fucking diet. You're not willing to train like I do. And that's the difference. What I do for my clients, 80% is diet. And not everybody wants to diet. It's a son of a bitch. So you can, and like Ben Pulowski said on Generation Iron, I can give you the same shit as I use, but you're never going to look at me because you don't want to put the time or the work in that I do to look like this. That's the difference. So people want to sit there and think, because here's the thing. If it was that great of a deal, if steroids and gear was that great of a deal, Art, KL and George, the whoever created this shit and designed the shit would be a multi-billionaire if we can all just take a fucking shot and look like this, or take a pill and look like this. But it doesn't work that way, and that's the problem. Everybody, oh, if I took a shot, I could look just like him. Or if I could take a pill, you look. No, you could not. It's more to this than that, and that's the problem. People, like Art said, people look at it and look at it as taboo because they think that's just what it's all about, and it's far more in-depth detail than just that shit.
See, they want, I think a lot of people, they want everything hot and ready right then and there, and you know,
that happens overnight.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, and you know, and if you can sell, like, you know, drugs which help you increase your testosterone, but why are you talking about people who do take the stuff to build their muscle, to build their body?
Come on, we have clinics now where guys go to for this shit, and women. Botox. I mean, fuck, we have Botox sales are at an all-time high, you know, all kinds of stuff. But you have wellness clinics now that men go to for growth, and women for growth, and for certain injections, you know, that they take because of their situation. Titan Medical. Go to Titan Medical. You got to fill out a form. You deal with doctors. You know, they give you legal shit based off of your symptoms and whatsoever, because everybody has something going on, you know, and Titan Medical is probably one of the biggest, you know, distributors of legal supplements there is. And they're at every one of the Olympias with their booths, their Ferraris and all their shit parked out front and all this other stuff out there. But again, at the end of the day, I think somebody like the IFBB and Titan Medical needs to collaborate and says, okay, we really need to educate these people on what we really do and what this is all about, you know, in order for it not to be as taboo. Because from what I'm gathering, from what Art's saying, is that's what's making it taboo.
Yeah, because that's one thing. You know, I remember the guy who runs Titan Medical, it's Conte. He was involved in the whole thing with steroids and the whole thing. That's why they point the finger to him, because of him. But the fact was, you don't make these people take this stuff. They chose to take it. It's like when you decide to do something, when you have your own free mind, your own free will, you're gonna do it no matter what. Especially if you want to one up the next person. You know, you want to get to the next level.
Well, and even in Generation Iron, the guy said, I asked, I forgot how many athletes the question, if I can give you one shot for you to win a gold medal, would you do it? And they all said yes. Because at the end of the day, what people understand is the supplements that we take, it doesn't give us an edge. It just, I remember reading this article, and it had to do with Kevin LeBron, Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler, Dorian Yates, and it was one other person. And they said, when did you start using gear? And it was like when they were in their, it was like when they turned like 20, between 18 and 21, when they hit their all-time peak of what their bodies could do and understood they had to do this in order to play with the big boys, you know, to compete with the big boys. That's when they decided to do it. But, you know, like people don't understand, like Kevin LeBron, I read an article on him, like he would do it and then he would go off for 6 months. He doesn't do it. You know, most people are like, oh, these guys use this shit all around. No, they don't. No, they don't. You know, and that's the fallacy of it. It's like, we do, you know, they do this to get bigger, to, you know, the Jay Cutlers and everybody in the world, they do these things, including myself, but it's a time deal. It's not an everyday deal. You know what I'm saying? It's a collaborative effort with, you know, I work with doctors, you know, very good doctors. And the problem is a lot of people don't understand that a lot of athletes are now working with doctors because they don't want to fuck themselves up, you know, and guys in the regular guys in the world. And I have friends who like, man, my testosterone, my sex drive, this, that, and other. So now they're going to, and the crazy thing is these doctors, like I just had one of my buddies just send me a message. He's taking 200 milligrams of testosterone every 2 weeks, and the doctors charges him $400 because it's big business. It is very big business. As we get older as guys, you guys have to understand this shit as well. It's something called menopause. Our testosterone level drops, our energy level drops. So that's why all these wellness clinics are popping up, and all these doctors will test your testosterone levels and say, oh, well, your testosterone levels are below a normal average man, so we're going to give you 2 shots of testosterone a month. that's just the world we live in now, and that's science.
And thing is, you would think something like this would bring out the certain, like, especially bodybuilders, or because most of them do use that product to help their process as a in bodybuilding. Remember, bodybuilding steroids is more for, helping for inflation when you in your, especially in your bones and your muscles. It's used for recovery. There's things that, people do the ice bath thing. Those companies have blown up the last few years where people get into the ice, into the freezer machine, and they get stuff cold because it helps, the swelling. There's so much. You got to think about it. If you can use an athlete like someone like Derek Lungford or Heidi Chopin, or someone like Big Ramy or Chris Sebum, or especially use something like, you have a lot of these wellness and bikini girls you can use, but there's also the women like, Natalia Coelho, there's Andrea Shaw, there's quite a few women in the figure division who have great looks and great style to them. One good example is Sid Gillen. She's very appealing. I think she does natural. I just did an interview last week with a girl who's natural. They have, I talked to you, they have good personalities by themselves. But like I said, the companies got to realize that you have to open your mind.
And again, you can't tell me what because IFBB, I don't even know what the IFBB net worth is. Kind of like the NFL. The IFBB's net worth has to be enough where they can call, a news state, NBC. I know they're in Pittsburgh. They can call and be like, "Hey, we're really trying to get our name out there, to make it bigger, better for everybody, seeing that we're the cornerstone of the fitness world," because they are. How do we collaborate with, and there's so many, because, when you look at NBCs, there's so many advocates to NBC. There's so many advocates to, CBS Sports, CBS Network. There's so many different channels. When I turn on my damn TV, even from a Disney channel, there's Disney Junior, Disney Teen, all this other shit that you can put it on. The question is, how does Tyler Mannion or Jim Mannion or Steve get to these people, because that's the topic of the conversation, get to these people and say, "Hey, how do we collaborate with you guys to educate people on just the fitness world, not steroids, the fitness world?" I mean, people can come to their own conclusions by seeing certain athletes and certain individuals, but at the exact same time, the world of fitness, which we're talking about, not bodybuilding, not anything. The world of fitness is so huge right now that, like you said, there's so much shit out there. You got the bikes, the Peloton bikes and all this other stuff. How do you get to mainstream media by just talking about fitness, just talking about working out? Because back in the day, that's what Sean and all those guys did on TV. They were just, with their little spandex tank tops and spandex pants and working out on TV. Seriously, they all be working out on TV. How do we get back to that? Just, okay, we're not talking about steroids. We're just talking about working out. Because then, again, that creates an audience of people paying attention like, oh, I can turn on this channel and get workouts, and things like that. Yeah. That's the question I would have for you, Art. What do you think about that?
I'm going to just say it again. You have to get past media programming.
Yeah.
Because that is what all these people, all those people in the gym that come to you and say, "Oh, well, I would look like that too if I took all this shit." Where are they getting that from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that whole idea coming from? It's coming from a nonstop media portrayal, always talking about, always associating bodybuilding automatically with steroids. So, and to that extent, I would say most people don't equate bodybuilding with fitness. See, you would do that, but see, the thing is that most people have gotten their education about bodybuilding from the mainstream media, and it's always the same shit. It's always about steroids. As far as the women go, specifically, it's always the same three subjects: psychology, steroids, sessions. Well, those are always the same three subjects.
Am I just blind that I just don't see this shit? Like, I don't see it. Like, I know I'm a pro and I compete. I just don't see it. Like, maybe like back in the day it was more, but I just don't see it like you're explaining to me now. Where am I not seeing this at? Where it's, it's mainstream media talking about it? Because I just don't hear him. I hear him talking about fighters now and people who get tested positive for steroids, but I just don't hear people talking about steroids like they used to.
Yeah. Well, here one thing is, back in the day, you used to catch, exercise shows like on ESPN, like Galad. Remember, Corey Evans used to have a show. They don't have those anymore. You most of the time now you have the sports talk, and that's part of. I would say that's part of that. But then you show like throwing darts. You do bowling. You show cornhole. Stuff that just is not really. You don't really have to really get the shape for. I mean, anybody can just go and throw a little sack into a little hole.
Yeah.
You can throw a dart. You don't. You can play pool. I mean, poker is now on ESPN. You sit there. I know it's $1 million now sport, but it's not really a sport. It's just like playing Uno. 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 Don't be surprised if we start seeing Uno on ESPN Ocho or something like that. We got here a comment. This is from Warrior. He says, those are some tight ass spandex to keep back in the day.
Yeah,
Sean
they
Ray
were.
Hey, I wasn't looking at I wasn't looking at no guys in spandex. I was looking at the girls. Yeah, but yeah, it's just the thing is mainstream media needs. We can't, like I said, it's gonna be hard to push back.
It is. It's going to be a long, hard road.
Yeah, and like one thing, if someone could do this, if Jake Wood and Jim Mannion gone on to like maybe on CNN, or if someone like Andrea can go on like some of these like the talk, or just try to get out there and educate people. There's still people like I remember the time that Arnold was on the dating game. And and the girl said, like the guys who are on steroids got little, and he said, no, we don't. Probably Arnold did for that. but there is a market for it, and I know it's going to be hard to reach out because I know people out there and say, you know what, I want to get healthy. Even though I got a little healthy, but I have a little setback in my knees and stuff like that. But I get educated when I do interviews with you, Ray, or when I talk to you, Keith. I learn stuff. And that's the thing is, we need to have a conversation. People who are outside who don't know, say, you know what, I want to know about bodybuilding. Tell me about it. What's the history about it? Let me share the story. And people are willing to listen. All it takes that just enough people saying, you know what, I get this product. And you talk about earlier how they don't want to show, commercials in movie theaters, but you're gonna see a movie. You just saw like was it Shades of 50 Shades of Grey just a few minutes ago, but you're gonna say, oh, show these women in suits, in posing suits are gonna be sexual. Like when I make my content, what I have to do, anytime I just did my comparison video, I have to put my adult advisory on it because it's too it's sexually arousing. But the fact is, you're posting pictures of women shaking their butts. There's a video of one dude, he posted women like this guy Ace Thing who I follow. He's talking about how I don't like ass anymore. They show too much ass on online. But I show pictures of women getting in shape, who look in good condition, who are attractive women in their own rights. But it's considered too risque compared to like this has happened where I post a picture and then it says, okay, we don't want to show that picture. But then you show a chick who has like boobs bigger than a volleyball and an ass like a watermelon. But then that's not subjective and sexual. I mean, just come on, like get the fuck out of here. How do you say here?
It's a lot of contradictions.
It is. There's a lot of contradiction in it.
Absolutely.
Like Mama saying, don't do what I do what I say.
Yeah.
And come on, if children are going to do what the parents do. This time when we're coming up, one thing we used to do. Anytime you saw the Jehovah's Witness come through, you just shut the door. Pop.
Yeah.
Don't open the door. We learn from by example. That means that people will learn that this is. I know there's always a situation where people die. Boxers die in a ring about every day. I just saw you saw in the Generation Iron thing, Conor McGregor, he's not going to make UFC 233 because of an injury. and he been doing some shit. He did some shit, you know, hitting an old man at a because he didn't want to drink his whiskey. You know, getting busted for sexual harassment, but they let that go. You know, you can be the most despicable person, but people like you for some reason, and they'll promote you and push you. You know, the whole situation. Dana White, he hit his wife in Mexico, but you know he wasn't really punished for that ever. You know,
He punished himself.
he punished himself. But then you see the whole thing with Michael Vick. You know, he wasn't even there when that happened.
No,
He wasn't even there. It was his cousin and his dad. They could have took the hit. He did a couple of years, and he would have took care of him.
Yep.
It's always a double standard to something. If it be ethnic background, be it your status in this world or whatever. But there's something that, if you give it the opportunity to grow, it'd be something worthwhile. If the networks do bring back, like if we're talking about CBS Sports, they just signed a contract with Invicta, which is an all-women's MMA organization ran by Shannon Knapp. They're supposed to be having an event coming up, I think, at the end of this month.
Yeah, they just started a professional women's softball league.
Yeah, and
professional women's volleyball. All kinds of stuff.
Volleyball, especially if it's out there in the sand, girls are wearing little tight little suits. There's one chick, I forgot how I said her name. She's black. She's a volleyball player. This chick is thick as a bull.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I follow her. She was playing back in college, and she's just, if any sex sells, but the idea with bodybuilding, they feel like there's no sexual attraction to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and they can't sell it as well as you can sell. Like you can sell bikini or wellness because those divisions they are appealing to the everyday standard, but it's hard to sell with bodybuilding. But there are that niche. Those guys like myself, KL, Art, who are family men, who love to see the opportunities to step up. Here we got here for War 2000. He says Andrew Schroeder and Linda Murray were spandex back in the day too. Yeah, I like to watch. Yeah, Andrew Schroeder and Linda Murray. Oh hell yeah! Don't forget don't forget Laura Craval and Vicky Gates. I love Vicky Gates. She just has those beautiful eyes. She's so sexy, Vicky Gates. Sorry guys, this is most of her smoke. But it's about opportunity. And it's there. Even though guys like you mentioned Ty Green stepped away, now has success. Dan Lee stepped away, has success. But if they can bring that success to the sport that got them started in past success, that would help.
I think people like Kai. When I talked to him, he understood that the IFBB was using his brand for their benefit and not for his, and so that's why he walked away, and that's why his net worth. Dana Lynn Bailey, same way. They understood, that they're branding themselves and doing what they're doing has they made them way more money than they ever had with competing, because you're talking about pennies on the dollar versus what Kai makes now. From his shoes to his the movies that he's in to his supplement company that he sold and all these other things. And part of that whole thing, the discrepancy was that at the time when the last Olympia that he didn't do was that he felt that him and Phil weren't treated the same, and that Phil was treated better than him. And I think he won the booth. They gave Phil one, but they didn't give him one. And at the end of the day, he is like, I know I can do better. I don't think they were ever going to let Phil Kai be champion anyway, even though that Generation Iron was the closest one, and I think it was by 1 point or something. But he understood that. He understood who he was and where he was at in his career, and that they weren't going to let him be the champion. Just like Flex. Flex will tell you, like he told me a story that when he left Weider and went to a different company for more money, that's when Ronnie became champion. Flex was lined up to be the next Mr. Olympia, but because he left Weider and did his own thing and and chased after the money, that's why he never became Mr. Olympia. So what people have to understand too, there's a lot of politics in this game. And that's at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. But again, getting back to the subject line that we're talking about is, okay, how does Tyler, how does Jim, how does Jake Woods, how do they reach out? Because they both have unbelievable teams of people that work for them, right? You know, the Wings of Strength production crew, and they have their own production company. So it's not like they would need like anything from these main networks. They were just needed shown because Wings of Strength has their own production company in Phoenix, Arizona. That's why we see all these videos and all this other stuff. Generation Iron, same way. So the question is, how do you put all this shit together so that mainstream see it, that you educate mainstream on what Art's talking about, that it's not about just steroids, it's about health and wellness, because in essence it is. Because if you think about, when you go to the Olympia, when you go to the Arnold, when you go to the New York Pro, when you go to the Chicago Pro, when you go to Tampa, is there just a bunch of fucking meatheads in the stands? No, there's not. They're regular people. They're regular people watching the show. So if there's regular people watching the show, these shows, and going to these events, which the Arnold is, you know, clearly one of the biggest shows in Olympia, are the two biggest shows in the world, and people coming from all over to watch, and you look at the people who are walking around these expos, they're regular ass freaking people who either like working out or has some dreams of becoming a bodybuilder or wellness or figure competitor sometime. But it ain't just a bunch of damn meatheads like Planet Fitness, the judgmental bullshit we were talking about last week. It's not just a bunch of meatheads walking around these shows. It's regular ass people who are just fascinated by the concept of what us pros do, right? So I don't see how it's that big of a deal or how it's that hard for Jim, Tyler, Jake Woods to sit here and says, how do we get this back mainstream? We understand what Art's talking about, which I respect what Art's talking about completely. But how do we get back? Because they have the money to do it. You know, and here's the thing. Money talks, bullshit walks. You throw a check and some money at, like, look, I want to pay you this to give me this spot. You're going to get that spot. Because back in the day when I used to ask Dave Palumbo when he worked for Muscle Development and all these guys that be featured guys on the cover of these magazines, it wasn't because Muscle Development was putting on them. It was because their sponsors were paying Muscle Development thousands of dollars to have their athletes on the cover of these damn magazines. And then they had to buy so many pages in the magazines to get their athletes the cover and inside the magazine. So at the end of the day, throw some money at the shit. You guys got plenty of it, clearly, you know, to make this work, in my opinion.
Yeah, because one thing you can do this, like there's, you know, like there's always these infomercials that come on like in the morning, in the afternoons. They can buy a spot, 30 minutes. You know, you can, you know, you have, you know, Jake, he had the Reach Strength YouTube channel. Now he has the Olympia YouTube channel. I mean, you could, like I said again, in Pittsburgh right alone, where it's a big market. You can go to Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. You know, Tyler could talk to some of the local news networks.
Yeah,
you know?
and Gary Udick and those guys got clout. I mean, here's the thing, that they generate a lot of money, like Columbus. Like Arnold, I forgot what the number is, like $20 million that weekend at the Arnold Classic. I can't imagine what the number is in Vegas for the Olympia or Orlando, wherever they decide to have it. You know, Vegas. And all these shows, well, these shows are Pittsburgh, because Gary puts on a ton of shows in Pittsburgh. All these hotels, you know, and the Chambers of Commerce is a big part of this whole thing, because these hotels fill up because these people are coming in town, right? They're coming in town. These athletes are booking hotels. The fans are booking hotels to watch these shows. Because when you go to these shows, you can't find a hotel anywhere, you know, because they're all sold out. So, you know, getting with the Chamber of Commerce, Gary Udick, Tyler Mannion, because obviously this works. This is like the reason why the San Diego Chargers are not in San Diego anymore, because the Chambers of Commerce did not want to work with the San Diego Chargers because to build them a new stadium. And that's when you see all these new stadiums and cities talking, it all has to do with revenue. Well, you build a new stadium, it creates more revenue for hotels. It creates more revenue for the whole community. And the same thing with these bodybuilding shows. You can't tell me that Arnold does not have some kind of relationship with Columbus, that if he's bringing in $20 million plus to that city for that weekend, that he ain't getting special favors getting done for him. You can't tell me that.
Like I said, you got to think about it. When you remember, it was originally called the Columbus Sports Fest.
Yeah.
He took it over and slapped his name on it.
Yep.
And then because he has a name, he's a brand, everybody came following him. Everybody wanted to come, even though he does not. As I said again, he quietly walked behind the women's division and tapped in the heart. But he has a brand. He has his also, his brand has expanded because he's across. He also classic.
Continents.
Yeah,
Six
six
continents.
continents. Yeah, yeah. And one thing, like someone like you think if Linda Murray had that kind of clout, maybe she'd have more shows. She didn't have to lose shows like Norfolk and Savannah. And the opportunities there. It's just that people, instead again, need to say, you know what, this is nothing wrong with this sport. You got to think about it. So again, boxers die in the ring about every other day. 5 other athletes get hurt. Paralyzed. You played in the NFL. You've seen
Retired
that.
because
But
concussions.
yeah, concussions. Yeah, that movie they did with Will Smith about concussions.
Yeah,
Real. And they changed the whole thing. Now even practice you have to have the helmet's a lot more thicker.
And you know why they did that, George? And they did that because the youth football numbers and the high school football numbers were going down because parents thought it wasn't safe. So that's why you got flag football. A kid can play flag football and not get hurt, not worry about getting a concussion. So that's why flag football is actually in the Olympics now. Because the NFL is not stupid. They're like, again, which way is our business trending? The numbers were declining from concussions because when that movie came out and everything that was going on, so now the technology has changed with the helmets and everything else. So it's you got to change with the times. And like we were just saying, it's amazing to me how you're just now talking about a clothing line. That's what we're talking about now. The breaking news is about a clothing line. And I guess the breaking news about that is the punchline, I guess, is that it's going to help create more revenue for more shows for more athletes, which, how do we really know that's going to happen is the question.
Yeah, because if more like to create more revenue for the family, you would think like this: if it creates more revenue for the athletes and shows, okay, let's see if increasing the prize money for shows like, the men's always going to have increase anyway because they get more sponsorship. But what about for divisions like, especially like for women's bodybuilding, physique, figure, bikini, wellness, those divisions where okay, $10,000 can make a difference. That's somebody's prep for the season.
Yeah.
Especially, you think about it, if you do a show like, okay, Chicago Pro, okay, let's say you talk to Tim Gardner, say, hey Tim, we're gonna throw in another extra $56,000. You can spread it out to the division that really deserve it. That would be men's bodybuilding, physique, and the others. Men's divisions are okay; they get still good chunk of change. Then you go to the other people and say, hey, we're going to promote more. And then you reach out to promoters, hey, you want to maybe, like, Tim Gardner lost the Puerto Rico Pro. Hey, Tim, you want to bring that show back? We'll help you bring it back, because we got this new, the whole apparel's helping out, just little things that can really help the sport at all. And it'll trickle down. I don't believe in trickle economics because it's trash. It's like, Reagan used it and it doesn't work. But if you really help out those people that deserve the opportunity to grow and to shine, you're gonna, and then also you put out good media out there. And even like I said, you're gonna have the negative Nancy's, but then you say, you know what? Like Brandon Mack said, people don't like you who you are, fuck them.
Well, and here's the thing, you're right. It's like I don't understand how if you have the Chicago Pro in Chicago, and you have the New York Pro in New York Pro in New York, and you have the Arnold, and you have the Olympia in Olympia, there's commercials that you can put on, like, you can pay for spots like coming to Vegas or coming to Chicago. You never see that stuff. It's promoted within their network system, and social media. But if you sit here and say, hey, we're gonna put this cool, if you're like, the one thing I can say about Wings of Strength is like when you go to the show, if you ever been to a show, they have those big screens on the back where athletes walk out and they're talking about all these shows and where they're gonna be and athletes and all, which is really dope and really cool. Why don't you just do a commercial like that? Pay for a commercial like that in the city in which you're trending to do that show at. You know what I'm saying? Because that, and then that catches wind someplace else. But you never see that. You don't see all the Nico, and I know Nico from Wings of Strength, he does an unbelievable job putting this production together. But putting that production together and putting that on the clip and says, here's a disc, can you run this as a commercial for me, X amount of times, throughout the day so that we can get more people to our show? Because if we're talking about, as we're sitting here talking about it, my wheels keep spinning, and I'm realizing what they do when all these shows like the Atlanta, the Wings, all the shows they put together and all they do, and you make a commercial and people start seeing it, it's like, hey, honey, they got this show going on in town. You want to go see it? You want to check it out? But they're not doing that. They're getting about this much versus this much because they're limited. They're limited to just their production versus making it mainstream. Meaning, like if you put it out there, George, like this video out there on like, hey, we're gonna go to whatever local news station where the show is gonna be. Where the show is gonna be. Hey, we are willing to pay X amount of dollars for this to be ran 2 or 3 times a day.
Also, still go on the radio. Like over, on next door, South Carolina, there's going to be a country music festival. They have that about every year. It's in Myrtle Beach. They always advertise on the radio. They advertise on TV, on the local networks. Those things help out. Like, okay, let's say, like you say, okay, we're going to have upcoming in Atlanta. It's coming to the Linda Murray show again for its 4th or 3rd year. You want to come check it out? Buy tickets. Or like remember those commercials like Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. The big
Atlanta.
Those things really people be like, I've never been to a show like it. Like I mean, he was his first show. You visit to go. You might have people say, I'm always been curious about bodybuilding. Maybe I might go check out the show.
But if you see it come across, I mean, I see so many kinds of infomercials and so many crazy damn things on TV. I said, if you put something like that, it perks you up and it intrigues you. It's like, what's that? What's that about? That'd be cool to go watch this weekend. I mean, if you can watch some damn monster trucks and shit like that, it's like, this would be an even cooler thing to see. I'm like, because like, I mean, you do something like, and the funny thing is like, I always evolutionize it. Like, if people says bodybuilding, I said, and the only thing I can reference is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they're like, oh, bodybuilding, but if you evolution, like, and make this production where like you're showing these, you're showing this production of all these shows, where they're going to be at. People start looking at that shit and be like, cool, but they're not doing that. They're just sitting there. I see it at the show, but I don't see it anywhere else. And if you see it somewhere else, you're like, cool, maybe I'll go check it out and maybe you won't. But you never, it doesn't hurt to try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. So it's just like I said, it's about, like Art said, and Art's gone, so thank you, Art, for coming through here. It's just about people have to change their mindset.
Yep.
And be open to the idea of it. Something that's not different. Like I say, AJ and JB was at the Imperial. They're the big friends. They talk about we like the big freaky chicks, and I like them too. I like also ladies who have a great condition, great look. Just people have to realize that there's always something for somebody that somebody likes, and they really want to see more of it. If you can get the people who are, like I often say, who are those who are undercover fans, who say that I don't want people to know that I'm into bodybuilding. But then you say, you know what, you have a show coming through in the area, so you know what, I've always wanted to go to a show. Like with me, I was working a lot, didn't have a lot of time, and then I couldn't afford to always go to a show, but I would love to go to more shows, because I only find out because I'm on here doing content with you guys. But there is a niche for it, and you got to find people who want to say take a chance of it. You're gonna hit or miss sometimes, but you know what? When you get those hits, when you get the people who follow, you get the people who are fans, especially like I say, family members, friends of the friends, stuff like that, and they say, you know what? My cousin's gonna do a show. You want to check it out? She's gonna be right there down the road. Well, let's go, okay? Or one thing we used to do was to give your competitors free tickets. If you had like family members and friends who want to come. So, hey, you give them a taste. So you give them that taste, it's like drugs. You give them that taste. You say, you know what? I like this. I want some more. Have some more, please, sir. But it's just we can talk and talk and talk and talk till our noses are blue. But it's up to the people up there who are heads in these corporations and these companies. If they want to promote their sport, they gotta take the risk. Oh, my man Keith had to step out. And, I think he has some things going on. We got here. Have to head out. See you all. Yeah, I appreciate it, Warrior. I think we're about to end here with Keith gone. And KL just did an interview this afternoon. I watched some of it. Interesting young lady. So, or if you want to check out his channel, go to KLA. I can leave a link if you like. You can check out his content and maybe promote him. So, who was the girl you interviewed? I listed a little bit of it because I was working on something else.
What you talking about?
Did,
That was from
did,
yesterday, right?
oh, that's no, not Melissa. You get another one. You say it
Oh,
was
that's
pre-recorded.
this coming this evening. That's Bianca Blanche.
No, there's another lady there.
Remember her,
Yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Bianca. Yeah, I talked to her before, and then then the second time she came with what's his name from Protein
Jackhammer.
Wrestling. You was there, yeah, Jack Hammer, and yeah, I was gonna decided to talk with her the third time. So
I saw another interview a while ago. It was something it was pre-recorded.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was the strong girl, right? With the from France.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That I already did that. I just kind of reposted it on the other channel that I have. That's all. Cause I had like I didn't know you was talking about that. I you know I did like a pre-recording because she didn't want to do it live. So we did it, and I'll just put it on my channel, The Wanderer. And then I just yesterday I posted that. I ain't had nothing to do. I just said because I wanted to kind of delete like certain StreamYard videos because you know how like the storage it gets kind of there's a lot of storage and you want to cut. So I just put it on this channel. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it was an easy interview, but like I said, we see more. But anyway, folks, this was a great topic we talked about here. As you know, bodybuilding. I've been a fan of the sport for quite some time. I also said again, I'm a fan of these ladies. I wish there was more opportunities for them, especially financially. Also, people recognize them as athletes. There's a lot of work to be a bodybuilder. It's not easy. The time you have to take to go in the gym, the time you have to do with it train, and sacrifice you have to make their time and also their money. Because one thing is, this is a sport where they're not getting much back out of it. But if product placement can help it out, when which okay, if you make more money, where which okay, even though you don't win the shows, hey, you get a little assistance on your cost of travel, or also, it could be enough to cover. Hey, we got competitors coming. You can pay for a whole motel, so they don't have to pay to get a room. Or just so much that could be done. But like I said again, like Art said, it's about changing the mind of the masses and have them be open
I
to
had
the idea of the sport.
I had a question. Like, I didn't know whether to ask it or not, but
Go ahead.
like, what it like if there wasn't no social media, would you think that bodybuilding would still kind of still exist in terms of being it on TV or anything like that?
I feel like I doubt it because that's the only reason why a lot of people watch Spider-Man because just I just saw a guy named Jonas Strong. He's posted the final. So he posted some videos from the Imperial. He was in Spain. If it wasn't on YouTube, we wouldn't see that. Unless you have pay-per-view. But then
Like
the one for
DVD or something like that, or
well, no one, DVD's dying. No one really,
No,
everybody's doing
I'm just
streaming
saying,
now.
like, if it wasn't like let's say, like, the way how the social media is, like, imagine if you didn't have social media, like, you,
But
you think it would still be at its state now? Because, I mean, it's funny because we didn't have those, there wasn't no social media, and it was like, it kind of stood out in its own way more than it is now. Like, think about it. Like, there wasn't no social media. Social media is like the quickest way to put your stuff out there. People can it was connected. But years ago, that wasn't even the issue. Like it I mean, because you know what I'm trying to say, right? You know,
Well,
it was out there more than how it is now.
well, the thing is, what they hurt it was because societies and things get steroids, and
Yeah,
that was a big issue. Even if with no social media, it was taking a slug. It was at one point you don't see it on television anymore.
right.
Like I said, DVDs and stuff like that, and videotapes. Unless you have a website. Most bodybuilders used to have websites, but they don't have websites. Most of the time, they have, because
Yeah,
cost of keeping up a website is expensive. That's why they do Facebook, IG, and Twitter, and Twitch, and all these, because it's free. You don't have to pay as much. You don't have to pay a webmaster to keep up a website anymore. You just make sure you stay on on your content every day. You know, like a lot of ladies who are very much into the social media thing. Like we just posted, I seen a thing about that girl who just got busted again for some other shit. I mean, chick,
yeah. She stole
you
like equipment and stuff like that.
yeah. She might have to end up getting OnlyFans after a while if she wants to pay for lawyer fees, because you know what,
Yeah,
people say no, who's gonna watch that? There's guys who are gonna watch it. If she do something simple
yeah.
as like some solo stuff, and maybe some girl stuff, or maybe something with a boyfriend, like that, anything freaky, guys will watch it. She's decently attractive. She has a nice body, but the people who don't want to watch it, that's them. But there are guys who will watch it, and she'll make money. I know she says that she want to do that, but you have now affected your career by what you did to your ex-boyfriend, his ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, and then doing this other shit. You have really put the knife in your career, so you have to go on that side where people don't want to go. Even adult stars, they get mainstream. Like Jimmy Jameson was a good example of that. Jimmy Jameson was a porn star back in the day, and she really got popular mainstream.
Mm.
She was the most downloaded woman on in around about the late '90s, early 2000s, before she got out of porn. Even after porn, she was still popular. Sex sells. And then, like I said,
Yeah.
bodybuilding is a fetish. There's guys like us who are fans of these ladies. We find them attractive, find them appealing. And and if there's opportunity, like more women get into like mainstream media, like doing commercials, doing TV shows, doing movies. If Hollywood is more open, instead of just using the girls who look like pencil sticks or they look like they're blow up dolls, get a woman who's fit.
Right.
So there's a lot that could be done, but the fact is, it's not going to be done anytime soon. Got people have to take a risk. Companies like the big companies, like I mentioned, like the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, Nike, Adidas, something like FedEx. Maybe you can have a bodybuilder in a FedEx commercial carrying stocks and stocks of loads of boxes. Those little things really get the opportunity. And also, so again, the biggest platform for commercials every year is the Super Bowl. Every year they spend millions on commercials going to only play for 30 seconds. And it's there. Jake Wood could do it. Jerry Man could do it. Hey, just buy a spot. You can maybe something to promote the upcoming Olympia. This for the Olympia. This could be the 60th anniversary for the Olympia. They could have bought
Right.
a spot on the Super Bowl. Talk about the Olympia. You can show girls water going doing a car wash in bikinis and short shorts, but you don't want to show women and men in posing suits. That's like I said, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
don't know what
folks.
to tell you. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's not much we can do. We just people on the outside. We can't do much. We did have deep pockets like the Jake Woods, or I gotta say it for I just say, yo Jake, I want that money, I want that gun. If we had a deep pockets like some of these guys, and who are outside of the sport, who maybe try to promote sport a little more, give the opportunity to open it up to the masses. And also, people need to get their prejudice out of it. Hey, steroids is everything from birth control to asthma, things. I mean, it's different steroids. I mean, I was taking one time I was taking stuff because I was having issues with, just basically I was in a wreck one time and I needed something to help out. They give you steroids to help you out your bones and stuff. I remember talking to one girl, said, "You got steroids?" I told her what it was. Said, "Nah, it's stuff I can't use." It's everywhere. And we talk about the dick pills, the testosterone stuff. That has steroids use it. but because it's for the mainstream to use to help with men's libido
I
and
didn't
so
realize that testosterone was
yeah.
was.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
realize
still
that.
that's still a level of steroids. Man, we have natural testosterone. That's what women use to build their muscle in bodybuilding. You know, some
Yeah.
women don't use it. Like Samantha Emery, who I did an interview, who's a natural competitor. She don't use it. She has a great physique. She told me they told me she want to get bigger, but it's gonna be hard for her to get bigger. She's a natural competitor. She has to find a way to put on size for her to compete with the girls who are enhanced. There is something that they can make a market out of in the fitness world
Right.
is has been booming. You know, back in the day, hey, you used to if you ran because you were scared or you were missing the bus. You know, now you got treadmills, you got Peloton, you got Total Gym. You know, with Chuck Norris, he does infomercials about every other week. You see him. You know, remember those old Soloflex commercials back in the day. You know, that started the infomercial boom around about the late '80s, early '90s. All you gotta do is take all you gotta do is put a spot in for 30 seconds. Like sometimes I watch Hot Bench, and after that, there's a 30-minute commercial selling like some kind of insurance or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And late at night, you like about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's like some guy selling knives or hibachis like that. There, you just got to put your money where your mouth is. If you want bodybuilding to grow, you have to take that chance. And sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose. And I think sometimes the risk can be worth the reward, but sometimes that's things that people don't want to take a risk.
Mm.
So this is something we've been talking about for a while, and just talk about it because not much going on. We just had the show of the Imperial, what was last this past Sunday. Congratulations to Nadia Capasoto and also to Sandra, who won their Olympic qualifications. I saw Nadia. She was doing an interview with AJ and JB and them. She was crying. I remember the time when she was in Olympia back in 2021. She was crying. I just, I sent her the uh the video. She really, she thanked me for it, and I appreciate that. Maybe one day she's gonna do an interview with Glenn. I think it's coming. I think she's doing it
Yeah.
today.
I
And
seen.
yeah, and also somebody else just reached out to me for an interview. So I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed. We get that one set up.
Oh, they reached
You know,
out to you.
hmm? Hmm?
They reached out to you.
Yeah, reach out to me.
Oh,
Yeah, we were supposed to
that's
set something up a
good.
while back, but they got caught up, and then said, we try to do something by this weekend because I know they're busy, they got lots to do. So okay, let's do it the weekend when everything is settled, and we'll just go ahead and do it the weekend. But sometimes it's about the waiting. You got to give ladies time. Just one lady just reached out to me, so I sent her a link to my IG. Check me out. Or just send one lady. She's just gonna check out my YouTube. It's just about the process. You got to give them time, see what they think, and get their mind right about it. But I'm like this. Mainstream companies, this sport is not as bad as some of the sports. I said talk about there's steroid use in boxing. The guy got busted. Also, I often hear people getting busted steroids in MMA. I mean, what can be you think that bodybuilding is the worst sport to have used steroids? And you take a blind eye when you look at baseball and football, and also professional wrestlers, they do it. That's double standard. But like I said, you
Yeah,
can't
but
make it.
they're not focusing on
Hmm.
like they because it generates money. That's all.
Yeah, that's what they say
They're
about money.
not gonna. They could, bodybuilding. It's not like it ain't like you say. It's not a lucrative sport, so
Yeah,
they
when
gonna
people talk
pick
about
at it.
like when Macho Man used to do his commercials, the cream of the crop, he was coked out. You're like, ooh, say yeah, brother, and the cream of the crop, and he was like, but that's but
Yeah.
that's like I said, that's just one of the things you can't make everybody change their minds or whatever. Um, like I say, folks, I like to appreciate y'all for coming through. Uh, you know, this is also from our man Marcus Bell says, salute all the Rage George page just coming through and smashing that like button. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. Um, folks, if you are someone who's like maybe working in like a mainstream company and you're a fan of bodybuilding, and if you can convince the people that you work with, hey, come on, go check out a show with me. Go look at on here. You have people like I said, Andrea Shaw is a lovely lady. I'm a fan of Andrea Shaw. people like Chelsea Dion. You know, that being somebody you can put on a cover or something. You know, the opportunities are there. It's just that the fact is that these companies need to be open and willing to offer it to these people. And and some of these mainstream companies, like especially in the news and TV, stop using that same bullshit. Educate yourself. Like he's talking about the thing with weed. Here's the thing about weed. You have more deaths from alcohol and cigarettes compared to weed. No one really has killed anybody being high on weed. That's why states like California and Colorado make it legal because the criminals were making money off it. Like back in the day when they bootlegged alcohol, the government was losing tax money and criminals were making billions. And that's why they legalized alcohol. Because hey, there's money they were missing. You know, but there's an opportunity for you. You just got to open your mind and be willing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, anyway, folks, I'd like to thank my man Warrior 2000, Raheem Hamilton, Marcus Bell, you know, also my brother Big Keith Williams, also the Art of Female Muscle, and also KL the Wanderer, all who were here, who will listen to this live stream. If you are a fan of the sport in general, not just the women, but also the sport, if you have a subject you want me to talk about, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can find my IG. You leave a comment even on this video and tell me what you want me to talk about. So like I said, we got some shows coming up not till next month. We have the Portugal Pro. Also, we have Chicago, Atlanta. I might watch a live stream on Chicago and Atlanta. Portugal, I think that live stream's coming like in the Imperial because it's another country. I can't pay for it because they don't take dollars, take euros or some shit. That's how one guy told me why he didn't watch the Imperial in Spain. But the season's winding up. It's really starting up because now the Glades are jumping on the shows. They want Olympic qualifications, getting really close. Shout out to Nadia, who now is going to her third Olympia. She missed out in 2022 because of issues with her. Shout out to Sandra, who's a client of Hella Trevino. And Hella just said, I sent a thing that interview with her, with Sandra and AJ on Female About You, said thank you. And I appreciate that for someone like Hella Trevino. I would love to have her on my channel one of these days. The big Dane herself. I love having any ladies on here, but I will talk to ladies who want to talk on here, want to be on here. I can't make nobody do what I want to do. You got to do what you want to do. So take your time, you're ready, and then let me know. So, brother, you have anything to say before we go out?
No, I'm good.
All right. I appreciate your time coming through, KL. We hope that's why I bring him on here because we want him to also get educated. Because sometimes, he doesn't pretty good either, but we still gonna remind him again. Don't you ever, 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 never wear a robe during an interview.
Oh man,
You
come
have no,
on, man.
you have no.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched that video. I was looking at it. I'm like, I still like it. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, man. It just because you see the chest. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no. We don't want to see your shit. We want to see the girl. We don't want to see your shit.
You ain't see nothing. You ain't see nothing.
We don't
You
want to
didn't
see
see
nothing.
anything.
You didn't want to see anything.
You didn't see
You didn't want
nothing.
to see nah. You want to see my chest?
I didn't
Nah,
see
nigga.
Maria complaining. It was
That was
just you and
her.
Keith.
She's being polite. We the rest of us, nah, man. We just nah, nigga, nah.
But you couldn't see nothing. It's not like you
I
could
understand, but
see anything,
that's like I
yo.
said, there, brother. Don't you ever, ever, never do that again. I'm gonna bust your balls on the time I see you.
I hear you, man. Crazy.
He had to come out.
You're not
So,
George. You're not.
I'm a character. I'm a Scorpio. We're crazy. So anyway, folks, thank you for coming through. Shout again to my guests. I appreciate y'all who are here, who comment, subscribe to my channel, who support us on social media. Check us out. Follow me. Follow KLA. Follow, I think, also Art's channel. Also follow my man, the Midway Monster himself, Mr. Big Keith Williams. He also, I think, he has a YouTube channel. He won't want to expand into this. Give the opportunities there for this sport to expand. And don't use old prejudice against it because what somebody said about 50, 40 years ago, hey, come on, this stuff, it's just, come on. Anyway, this is the LOA Judge Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Like, don't subscribe. We are out. Good evening, good night, good luck, and see you next time around.
Peace.